Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I want to introduce you to Magboeba Davids, who's been running the IUC Women's Forum for, 3 decades now?
Yes.
3 decades. Let me get you into the frame. And so she's been an activist for women's rights and issues, especially within the context of Islam. Following the Quranic injunction for about 3 decades now, she's been doing events, talks, workshops, counseling, written syllabus, what else, essays, has been involved with government, other activists, and has been quite prolific. Have I left anything out?
That's fine.
Is that fine? Okay. Mm-hmm. So you were involved in the Western Cape religious leaders?
Yes, I was invited actually.
Invited, okay.
Yeah, I was invited to attend and to participate in the conversation of how we as people of faith were living in South Africa, how we dealing with the issues on grassroots level. And my contribution was like really to first and foremost, I first introduced myself as a Muslim woman and also what my faith actually means to me. But what was amazing, having had an opportunity to attend this particular circle of conversation, present was people from all different faiths, which I did appreciate. I did appreciate because people of Baha'i faith, of the Ahmadiyya faith, as well as Buddhism and Buddhists and Anglican churches and women from the United Religious Front all attended this particular conversation. But for me, it was such a learning curve. But also, again, the whole meeting actually testified that faith has one language, right? And that, for me, why I'm saying that is, even though we differ perhaps in the way we believe in the Creator, or we differ when it comes to our belief system, there's one thing that actually we share in common, and that's the compassion.
The rahmah.
And
rahmah that Allah puts in us.
That Allah puts in us, and how that is actually being used, and also how all of us actually have the concern for humanity. And within my introduction, I mentioned that as a Muslim, I need to I have an obligation really to believe in all the prophets and to believe in the Malaika and to believe in the last day. But in my presentation, I mentioned that all the prophets didn't only come and teach us to pray and to supplicate. They actually they were sent by God, or chosen by God, the Creator, to change the social order of their time from this social order to a social order. So that means work needs to be done. So if I say I follow the prophets and all the prophets at the time of Adam, that should be my role as a believer, right? And that's where we all meet. Yeah. We have one understanding, and that what I've learned that day was like really the activism, and I would rather say the Islamic activism, even though they represent different kinds of faiths.
Yeah.
So the compassion for the poor, for the orphan, and also having had a holistic understanding or view rather of the conditions that we are living under within South Africa, that we are actually of the oppressed people.
Yeah.
You see, and that for me was the common ground, and how all of us actually can bring about the social change. Yeah. The Anglican priest I was very impressed with him, because for me, why I'm saying that is because he's not a person that stayed in his church. He was out there visiting 70 informal settlements. Yeah. And what he brought to the table.
And that is a sunnah, basically.
Yes.
It's a sunnah to actually to get into the trenches, so to speak.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was to me so amazing when he said that we know there's poverty, we know there's oppression, but do we really look at the psychology of the oppressed?
Because that's the problem with our community. There's too much segregation between the haves and have-nots.
Yes.
Like when I was working at the NGO, I find that a lot of people, they want to throw the money at the charity, but they don't want to talk to the people in the community and find out what's going on and assist with solutions. So there's that lack of communication. And when I think of the time of the Prophet Muhammad and his Sahaba and his family, they were very much in the trenches and very connected to the lower part of the community. So there wasn't this class system or apartheid, basically. It's very anti-apartheid.
Yeah, and also in my thoughts as a young woman, I always thought there must be much more to Islam. I was looking for that activism, that active Islam, not this Islam that actually just teach me or allow me to, or the Islam that say, okay, pray and have your Thursday night dhikrs, and that will actually allow you to become spiritual.
And then become comfortable in
and become comfortable.
your suburban little bubble or
yeah.
yeah.
That for me was never something that I thought there was something much bigger than it, and that was in Islam.
Yeah.
And my questions were actually answered. Alhamdulillah. So coming back to the Anglican priest, where he actually said that the psyche of the poor people, where he spoke about the broken mind, and the distrust.
That needs healing.
Yeah, that needs healing. The distrust that they have.
Yeah.
Whenever we approach them, they don't really trust.
Isn't that also relating to like poverty leads to kufr?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I could actually tie in a lot of hadith and also Quranic verses as they were speaking.
Yeah.
Right? The poor people are actually in survival mode.
Yeah.
Right? And also
in the reptilian brain, like fight or flight.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what we find ourselves in, as well as the moral fabric.
Yeah.
How that has been broken, and also what he actually said, that the sasa, our monthly pensions, it's not gonna really make us rich.
Yeah.
And it's meant not to really make us rich. It's just to keep us there. And also what he also suggested, that we need a new beginning, right? And also within my introductory comments, I also mentioned that we don't need a new system. The system is already in place, and the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ actually came to teach us that particular method.
Yeah.
Right. So they also felt that even from the Buddhist, when he spoke, when he said that I cannot ever see myself, or should not ever see myself, as being alone in this world, because the shoes that I'm wearing, somebody made. My jacket that I'm wearing, somebody made. Right?
Yeah.
The mere fact that I have to get here from point A to point B, somebody had to bring me till this particular point. So we should not see ourselves as little islands, but being part of a community. And again, Allah Ta'ala also says the Ummah is one. Right? So these kind of lessons I drew from everybody present.
Yeah.
And of course, and then I was asked now what is our contribution as Women's Forum. So I said now our focus is very much on the womb and social justice, linking that with social justice. And why? Because the when a mother is insecure, when she feels unsafe, and she's the one that carries life, the heartbeat of the mother cannot comfort the baby within the womb. And that is the reason why we are so concerned about bringing about social justice and peace and healing.
Yeah.
And that has actually been our cause for the past 30 years. So
that's why I use the term maternalist as opposed to feminist.
Yes.
Maternalist is empowered. It's empowered. It's empowered motherhood. It's the authority of the woman based on her accountability as a maternal being. Whether she's a biological mother or not. And with the four best women, whether it's Asya, Miriam, Khadija, Fatima, peace be upon them, you see examples of that empowered motherhood. And I mean, how do you spell imam in Arabic, and then how do you spell in Arabic? You understand? The mother is the leader. So our leadership is very much overlapped and connected to our maternal rahma. I mean, there's been stories of women lifting cars off children because we don't have strength and power except by others. So here we are trying to be like men. Meanwhile, we have this connection to an even greater power that's within ourselves and connected to our rahmah and connected to our love and our compassion.
Absolutely.
So that's why I use the term maternalism, and I think the work that you've been doing is very much maternalist orientated. It's very maternal, very connected to the woman, connected to. I think empowered motherhood is like the best expression for it. But bithnillah, and for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yes, and also thank you, Lila. And I think also that Allah's attribute, Rahmah, and the womb, the
Rahim, of course.
It carries the same. It's like tree and branch. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy flow through women. So if the womb is blocked,
Yeah.
if the womb is abused or have been abused, if the womb is in distress, if the womb has been humiliated, that energy cannot flow through women.
Yeah.
And
that's why Shaitan targets the womb.
Yeah.
That's why Shaitan targets the womb,
Yeah.
because that is where life begins. It's, I know there was a Christian that got caught into a very awkward pro-life debate, and then somebody said to this Christian, like, well, if there was a petri dish, a petri dish of fertilized eggs, and there was a fire, would you try and save this dish? And the Christian didn't quite know how to answer. The thing is that the fertilized eggs in a petri dish are fertilized eggs in a petri dish, but as soon as it's connected to the womb, that's where your life starts. That's why technically, according to most Muslim scholars, according to articles that I've read about the fiqh on abortion and contraception, most Muslim scholars agree that the morning after pill, for example, is not abortion, because you're not that alaq.
Yes.
You're not connected to the
womb
yet. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why Shaitan targets the womb, because that is where you begin.
Yes.
You begin connected to your mother's womb. It is
Absolutely.
such a powerful thing.
Absolutely.
It's a funnel of great power. And I mean, I mentioned women who lift cars off their babies or children, which also reminds me of a hadith of one of the women that were on the sides. It was one of the battles. I'm not sure which battle it was, but I remember hearing about this hadith where one of the women on the sides, she saw her husband and her son fighting, and then her son was under attack, and she just stormed onto the battlefield. She just grabbed a sword and she went running into the battlefield. And the Prophet Muhammad was so fascinated with this woman. And then apparently somebody hit her in the shoulder, and she had like a big dent or gash. But he was always fascinated with this woman. So I noticed that the Prophet Muhammad was very fascinated with maternal love and power, and he kept referencing it, whether he was saying it like your mother 3 times as your leader, or what he mentioned about the birds in the nest. But it was definitely a theme that unfortunately I think it's been kind of swept under the rug in some cases. So my argument has been that the patriarchy is not the issue, it's the lack of matriarchy.
Yes. Yeah.
So men are not the problem. The patriarch's not the problem. It's the lack of the matriarch. That's been the problem. Because of course Shaitan's going to want to.
Yeah. And I think also
Shaitan's going to want to strip you of anything that's good and healthy for you. Shaitan's going to target that, obviously.